Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ramblings from the Warp from Late Night Dice. As always, I'm joined by the gorgeous Kyle, the beautiful Christian. Say hi to the folks.
How y'all doing?
Hi, folks.
I gotta say, you guys are getting better at that.
I'll just let Christian go first.
Y'all getting better at that. I remember the first couple episodes, I was like, say hi to everybody, and y'all were like, hi.
If anyone asks me a question, I just learned to just start talking and Kyle will fix it somehow or not say anything. So best to just answer.
You gotta treat it like a wrestling interview. They'll hop in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, so this episode we're going back to the Q&A. We found some questions, and Kyle's going to read them off for us. These are the most common questions, and I'm going to say this when we're looking for these. These are the most common questions I found that were not how to make a list. Hands down, still the most common three questions out there are: which Legion is the best? What list should I start with? And how do I make a list? So I took those out. So, that being said, Kyle, kick us out. What's our first question?
So our first question is, I think, a pretty solid one, and probably one of the most controversial ones. What do you guys think about GW raising the prices again?
So,
when do they not?
Yeah, right. Like at this point, I feel like we're in a very well calibrated grift. Like, so it's a okay. Unfiltered. Here's my opinion. Do I think it's bullshit? Yes. I have always defended the fact that I feel like GW does make some of the most beautiful models out there. You know, like I'm sure you guys have played a bunch of different games, right? You know, looking at the quality of models you get in certain other games, like you get what you pay for, right? Like right now, like I am knees deep into Halo Flashpoint. I'm loving this game. Those models are not GW models. Now, do they have like better quality ones that you can purchase to a degree and things like that? Yes, but in an overall arc, these are not top tier models. GW does typically make very good top tier models. Where my grievance comes in, how many times I'm going to see the same fucking pose, just recrafted with new emblems on it?
Until they raise it
And then,
about 5 more times.
right, like, so I'm not mad that they're raising their prices because the quality of the model is still really good. What pisses me off is that I'm basically it's like going to a concert for somebody and all they did was remix somebody else's shit, right? And then you got charged for the privilege. Most of the models now are just remix versions of the same models over and over again. It's really lazy 3D modeling. Now, the second problem I have with them raising their prices is, as much as I love the fact that in the heresy space, the Mark II, the Mark III, the Mark VI armors all fit the same weapon sprues, right? That's pretty awesome. If you go and buy the Saturnine box, or you get your hands on one of the Age of Darkness boxes, or you go buy some a battle group, or you buy the Mark IIIs or the Mark II separately, or the Mark VIs, they will all fit the same special weapon, heavy weapon, accessory boxes. Fantastic idea, fantastic for modeling and things like that. Downside, they're all the same monopose. So if you look at the Mark II, the Mark III, and the Mark VI, they're the same legs, the same bodies, the same angle, the same pose. All they did was remodel the armor. Right, cool. So I myself prefer the older Mark IV and Mark IIIs where I could pose them in however the hell I wanted. Because it gave the army some flair other than like, oh, you brought 10 generic guys and I brought 10 generic guys. They look the same. That's where the problem I have with the price lift is that we're not paying for really cool, awesome models. We're paying for remixed bullshit. And then they're making it more expensive now. Like, it was already kind of salty that the Saturnine box was $15 more than the last box. So, like, that's my take on it is I don't mind that they charge for good models. I mind that they're charging me to remix old shit.
Agreed.
I mean, at this point, it's not like any of us people that have played Warhammer this long are like shocked. Like they seem to always raise their models. They did it whenever the what's it called came out. We've been playing so much Halo Flashpoint. I almost said ODSTs. But when the Primaris models came out, they did it there. They every time like they go out of their norm, like with poses and stuff like that. It seems to be doing that every time they make new models. So I don't like it, but they need to stay a business. GW was at a point where they weren't making money, and then they stopped making stuff for us, and we were all bummed out. So it's a give or take scenario. It's always going to happen. It happens to everything. I don't like it though, because it makes it harder for people to get into the game, and I don't know. That's kind of my take on it. What do you got, Kyle?
I feel like it just at this point seems like corporate greed. They have so much going on for the company. They have the new hotness for Horus Heresy, which brought in a lot of sales. They have 40K, which is popping right now. It's all over TikTok. And you've got Henry Cavill doing his Amazon show, and of course they're getting royalties on that, and they're probably putting up a bill for it, but they're going to make millions on that if they do it right. Like they have a lot of revenue streams, and I feel like raising the price on entry to the game is probably not the long-sighted view, if that makes any sense. But
Well,
hey, they don't pay me the big bucks, so what do I know?
I mean,
well,
you
okay,
gotta also. Oh, go for it, Gabe.
okay. So, is it corporate greed to a degree? Of course. Like they're a business. They're an openly traded business. To last of my knowledge, there is going to be some corporate greed in there. And on the other side, as I do understand that we don't get new cool shit if they don't have money to do it. I understand it. I appreciate it. Right. Where my appreciation falls short is it feels like every business decision is made purely in the sense of pissing me off. I don't know if there's a guy who like reads my diary, but there's a lot of things that they do that just aggravate the piss out of me. Like they say, "Hey, we have these new and amazing models, and we want you to go buy these new and amazing models. By the way, we're going to make these new and amazing models really, really expensive. By the way, we're not going to make models that you've been playing with. We're going to just let you keep having the rules, even though they're really cool and they're like fan favorites. We're going to let you have the rules in your game, but you can't actually buy a model for it. And then when you go to one of our GW sanctioned official events, we're going to tell you to go fuck yourself for bringing it."
Yeah.
That's my hard counter is I feel like I'm like it almost feels like going to a strip club, man. Like you get to see everything, you don't get to touch anything, and then you get sent home pissed off. Now, again, I can't call it all corporate greed because we are getting a lot of new stuff. Like Christian was saying, like, dude, we have a new Saturnine box, we have new models, we have new commanders, we have a new game. 40K is getting some new model lines. I know that Christian like has like a half chub because a bunch of Votan came out.
Yes,
We're
sir.
getting a lot of cool new models, and that's where a lot of that money goes, and I can understand that. I I've just never understood the mindset that GW has where they're like, "Hey, we're going to raise our prices on these models because we can. We're also going to tell you that you can't play with the models that we don't give you, but we're going to strategically not give you the models that everyone has been asking for. And if you come to one of our events and you have that model that we gave you rules for, but we don't make a model for, we're going to kick you out."
Okay, so like I said, I'm not agreeing with them, but playing devil's advocate for it like that. I think in the sense, and it's something that they don't do. And yes, we're going to talk about 40K for a little bit. Is I think the rules for 40K when it comes tournament wise kind of comes over to the heresy side, because I don't think that should be a thing in heresy. Y'all don't we don't have models in print for us, so you have to make stuff. That's not a problem in 40K. So I'm wondering if they just kept it a blank, like for everyone, just so that no one will get mad. Does that make sense? Because 40K has all the models, we have all the rules. They don't leave anything out, so it's kind of weird if like you come to an event and you don't have the right model. Now, I think if you have your army, I mean, this leads into another question that I saw that we could start later. But is that just a general thing? Like maybe they just keep it that way because in sanctioned events, they're like, well, if we have it for 40K, we're gonna have it for 30K.
Well,
Is that
so one of our really good friends, right? My buddy, Michael out in Midland, really good friend of mine, actually is an official GW tournament organizer now, and I talked to him at length about this because it's something I'm super passionate about. Is the concept of like, if you allow me to play it, let me play it, and if you don't provide it, let me provide it to myself. And he was like, yeah, it's up to the TO what they allow and what they don't allow. Like even GW has said, like, hey, we have these rules, but it's up to the TO. I just don't know why the TOs are choosing to be so rigid about something. And the only thing that I can explain, like this, the only way I can explain this phenomenon is I'm finding there is a clear separation between older Heresy players and newer Heresy players. Older Heresy players are used to having, like, they're used to having banana in their cereal. They're used to having their coffee with their breakfast. And the new guys are like, what came with the continental breakfast? That's what I have. That's what I was provided, was continental breakfast. Why do you have bananas and coffee? And so there's kind of this hemorrhage in the community right now, at least from what I've seen at the organized play level. Because let's keep in mind, this is not affecting any of the groups at Warzone. This is not affecting any of the groups at Adepticon or Alamo or Nova. This is not affecting any of those events, right? The only effects that this is affecting are official GW opens. I don't know why they're so hard-nosed about it. And I don't know why that separation exists of, because I don't have it, you don't get to use it. And it's like, hey, bud, like, you know all the same people I know. You could ask. We could help you. We can help you kit bash one. So I think it's more along the lines of there's more of that heresy community trying to hang on to their older models. And then there's a new generation of heresy players coming from 40K that are like, hey, that's Legends. No, sir. Legacies are not Legends. I don't know how much you guys
I
have seen of
disagree
that.
with that. I disagree with you saying it's the 40K side, because that shit has been there whenever I also started playing Heresy. I don't care who fucking hears that. That shit has been there too from Heresy players on Heresy players. You just have people like that are assholes, and I'm willing to say that.
I see.
You know, I'm saying the truth, man. Like, it's not just 40. We can't
I
throw everything on
disagree.
40K.
Well, the thing is, I disagree because I didn't have these problems when I played with normal Heresy players from 1.0 into 2.0. I saw it in 2.0 when the new model lines came out and we switched into plastic. Then I heard all the guys who were like, "Oh yeah, Legends versus Legacies." There's a complete separation. Legacies are not Legends. Legends is a 40K thing where you guys were perfectly okay with GW saying, "Hey, you can't use those models you bought 10 years ago because fuck you." And for some reason, the 40K community was like, "Yeah, we'll go along with that." Heresy didn't, right? So there is this weird line between 40K crossovers where they think that Legacies is the same as Legends. And they're like, oh, yeah, I'd use that, but it's Legends. We can't use that at an event. That's not what the rules say. And for some reason, TOs are standing on that like it's gospel, at least at the Warhammer Opens. That's why I'm saying I do blame the 40K side for that part, 100%. Now, is that their fault? No, I think that's GW's fault. Because I think that GW has gotten into the mindset of, we're making this game the way we're making it. One side is going to behave one way, one side's going to behave the other, and the two communities are blurring the lines. Right? As always, it's going to fall on the players. Like at the end of the day, we're the shitbags. Right? That's irrefutable fact. At the end of the day, the players are still the primary shitbags in this equation. Right? But going back to the original point of all of this, I don't like being told that I'm allowed to play with something, but I can't play with it at your event when you're the person who makes it, but you wouldn't produce a model for it. And then even if you did produce a model for it, I'm now going to pay 4% more than I did a year ago.
That kind of rolls into our next topic. How do you feel about recasts and printing and proxies?
Ooh, shit.
I think we somehow keep the. You know how on our models, is it 90-10?
Yeah, 90-10 is the rule. 90% real,
Okay,
10% proxy.
hold on.
Or printed.
That again, that is a community standard. That is not across the board. There are some guys that are 80-20, some guys are 70-30, some stores are 90-10. It just depends on where you're playing.
Exactly. I'm just gonna say it like this. I don't think it's that much of a problem. Now it is. Look, if you don't want to give GW your money, you don't want to give GW your money. Don't go to an event. I don't think you should go to an event with the whole proxied army. Some of it should be real. I think the problem to me is just, I don't know how to say this without saying, but like, if you don't want to give GW your money, fine, but support your local game store. That's how I feel about it. If you have the money to at least buy one model or two, do it by supporting your local game store. So that's where my problem comes with, because I get it. People like to recast order because a lot of people don't have the money for it. I hate that concept sometimes, not all the times, just because I feel like when I go and buy a model, I'm not looking at it as, hey, I'm giving money to GW and they're overpriced as fuck. I'm trying to keep my local game store open. So
I'm gonna contradict myself just a wee bit. Understand that I'm a complex creature and I'm allowed to contradict myself. There is a separation between supporting the game and being okay with getting fucked. I support the game. If I can walk into my local store, I can buy it off the shelf, I can support my local guy, I do. Right. I've got a guy here locally, I buy almost all of my stuff from him, cool. But I also understand that some people are priced out of the game. I don't care if you have printed models. I don't care if you have recasted models. What I care about is if you are planning on going to big events, make an effort. When you go to Adepticon, I will be the first to tell you there's a lot of stuff that goes on at these bigger events where there's some recasted stuff. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with any of it. What I have a problem with is the shitbag I played at Adepticon last year who had Gal Vorback and Argel Tall and 80mm bases and models that were bigger than dreadnoughts. That's a problem. Right? I think that 3D printing, recasting, proxies, things like that, I don't think they're a problem if they're done appropriately. I am 100% pro printing in the sense of printing accessories, printing base toppers, printing bases, printing shoulder pads, things like that. If you're wanting to add your own individual flair to your army, I 100% support it. Right? But the problem with this equation of if you print everything, the game will die. Right? And that's part of the reason why we're seeing GW raise the prices. Is they're like, oh man, we're getting a drop off in sales. Well, okay, you're getting a drop off in sales because you have the same 10 monopose fucking models in every box set with different armor marks. Kyle hates beaky helmets. I hate beaky helmets. We talked about it on one of the episodes. I don't like the beaky helmets. When I did the Iron Warriors, every single one of them had a different helmet on it. And at the time, Games Workshop was not producing a helmet that looked good, in my opinion. So I printed some. Right? I also printed the shoulder pads because they had the hazard stripes etched into them, and it's easier for me to follow a line than it is to blindly paint hazard stripes. So there's that, right? So I love the idea of printing accessories for your army. I don't even mind if you have printed models. What I mind is that you're still supporting the hobby, you're still supporting your local game stores, and you're keeping the game alive. You can't print everything, you can't recast everything. Recasting is particularly a sticky subject because essentially you're talking about like, yeah, this is my counterfeit model.
Here's a hot take out of nowhere on that thought process. I think the Horus Heresy would have died if it wasn't for proxied models.
I agree with that.
You know, I don't think you're wrong.
It was at a high point at one time where only reason people couldn't play it was because there were no proxy models, because 3D printing wasn't on the up and up at that time, and you couldn't just go buy a Leviathan or something, or have a, because also the way that Horse Heresy does it is like you could buy the, and that's one thing too. I think they set up people to kind of proxy some, not proxy something, but make stuff on it, because you could go and buy the body of something, and then you got to pay 20 extra bucks for like the weapon arm and the other arm. I've seen people just buy the body and they say, fuck it, I have all these old bits. Let's build something cool. I have the body, I have the right base. This is all GW. Let's add some stuff on there.
I don't think you're wrong, because up until we started getting plastic kits in second ed, it really was an expensive game to get into. Yeah. So, I mean, 100% proxies, however you want to do them, recast 3D printed, that was a big part of what kind of kept Heresy alive. I'll agree with that. What I will say is the Heresy community is so weird. You can't come to me and say, like, oh, man, that's disappointing. Like, what do you mean? Like, oh, well, that's a Mark 6 body, but he doesn't actually have the right head, and he doesn't have this, and he doesn't have that. And then in the same breath be like, oh my God, you don't have official GW models of the correct mark with the correct generation. Yeah, they don't make it. So I have to kit one. Right. And so whether that kit bashing is through recasted parts or 3D printed parts or whatever else, I think that's totally player based, like how you want your model to look. And I'm pretty sure that majority of events don't care as long as your model is the appropriate size, shape, dimension. Like I said, the only issue that I had was I know there was a gaming community out in Odessa that were playing with Lehman Russes that were damn near the size of Spartans.
Yeah. No.
And I was like, hey, that's a damn lunchbox. Why is that out here? Oh, that's my Lehman Russ. Nah, that's a lunchbox, dude. I can hold food in that. It's colossal.
There's also the problem that people also have to understand is, again, it goes back to the price point. It goes back to everything. You can't get mad at someone when they're trying to find a cheaper avenue, and I'm not saying they go out and they find a proxy website or something and buy that, but they go through eBay or secondhand exchange or buy it from someone else, and it's probably painted well, everything, and they don't notice until they go down and break out all the paints and make their own paint scheme, and then they realize some of the parts on that model aren't exactly GW. You know, like buying it secondhand, and it just happens to be that way, because a lot of people do that. A lot of people go on eBay, find something that's probably damaged, painted bad, and they make it look good.
Dude, you know what's even worse about that? I have never gone to an event ever where there was a dude at the front door that was like, "Show me your papers." Never seen it. No one's ever asked me for the certificate for any model I've ever had. No one's asked me to check receipts. None of that's ever been a thing, right? So even if you do take a hardline stance against prints or casts or whatever else, like, how far are you willing to go to prove it? How far how exclusive do you want to be to just run that fine line? Like, for me, realistically, I don't care what you bring or how you bring it, as long as it's the appropriate size. Majority of the events I've been to have been that way. I do know there's a local store here that has a 90-10 rule. There's 0 recast, 0 proxy, right? That's their business. If that's how they want to run their business model, that's their business model. I've also been to another place where I saw the print lines on a Lehman Russ the size of a school bus, right? So I was like, hey, if this is how y'all play, this is how y'all play. I'm just saying that's wildly out of spec. And it feels a little wrong given how line of sight works.
And this is why I also say, look, you have to respect your game store. If that's the game store that does that and you don't like that, fuck it. If you have a hard stance that you don't agree with them, don't go there. But this is why I say support your local game store, because if it's, well, your local one that you like going to, and they're saying, no, you could use proxy models. No, come to all of our events, even though they're GW sanctioned, and we'll let you play or whatever. Don't you want to support that people that are like helping you out in the long run? You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
And
for
I would
sure.
have
Like,
to say, I like your stance on it, Gabe. I understand support your local store, but if I can't buy what I want on my guys, and it's not illegal to have it on my guys, like shoulder pads or helmets from that store, they shouldn't disallow me from playing with that model. You know what I
I
mean?
agree. Yeah, I've even said that before. It's like
Like,
I understand, like, and I respect store policies that are like, hey, this is our policy. Cool, I respect it. I'm totally on board with it. It just really sucks whenever I'm playing an army. It's like, hey, I can take a Primus Medicae in Terminator armor with this weapon. Model never existed. Right? It's always been a kit bash model. Well, if I go and I get a cataphractic body and then I print, an arm, a shoulder pad, and then a couple little bits for it to glue onto it, whatever. Dude, I'm way outside of 90-10. I'm even out of 80-20. I'm probably closer to 60-40. Right? If you really want to really get down into the percentages of real versus fake, because that's another thing too, is like no one's ever scanned my model and been like, oh, I'm seeing 89-11. He's out of here. No.
yeah.
Right.
And also on top of all that, you can't be too hard assed on it if GW doesn't even have it in stock. If I wanted to get into the game today and buy my stuff from GW online because I don't have a local store that's close to me that could order it, I couldn't have Dominion Zephon or Sanguinius or a Leviathan Dreadnought Blood Angels or a Blood Angels Tears the Serpent with Volkite Serpentas or the Blood Angels with grenade launchers because they're all out of stock.
Yeah, and that's
You
and
know,
that's gonna be that's gonna be a thing too. Is like I'm never gonna be like oh, it wasn't in stock. That sucks. Like somebody out there's got it. I think the biggest problem is it. This is another bad side effect that GW has that I guess nobody likes to talk about, and I don't know why, but the book releases are a fantastic example. GW releases a limited edition book. The next day, that limited edition book is on eBay for $600.
Scalping is
Right,
a thing.
right. You cannot produce a game and then say, "Hey, we're going to make these models super awesome. They're going to be amazing and all that." And then you put them out there; they're never in stock. But you also have zero provisions to prevent the market from going out of pocket.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, and hopefully we see a decline well, we're never going to see a decline in scalping. People are just like that. But the models out of stock, hopefully that's just because they're resin. And hopefully it's going to take some time, but hopefully all that comes in a plastic and it somewhat fixes the issue a little bit. But I don't know.
To a degree, I agree with you there. Like, I think we're going to see more and more go plastic. And now a whole lot of the line is in plastic. Which I love. Like, don't get me wrong, man. Like, I have a special place in my heart for my old resin, like Daradeos and stuff like that. But it really sucks when I get back from like a 4-hour road trip back from a convention. And I get up to my room and all the autocannons are sagging and shit.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I feel that. Like, I feel that. And it's also going to suck because, like, later on down the road when they start making some of these resin models into plastic most old veterans of the game are going to come with their old resin models, and someone's going to be like, oh, that's cool, and they pick it up and they go, ooh, this is hefty, I think this is fake. Because
yeah,
you could definitely tell the weight.
oh, dude, I'm taking one of my resin Spartans. So I've got 2 Forge World resin Spartans upstairs in my collection. I have not built a plastic Spartan for my Ultramarines, period. So when I go to Warzone this weekend, I'm showing up with a solid black resin Spartan, dude. And I'm also running some Castroferum Dreadnoughts. Those are going to be metal.
Yeah.
So, like, anytime somebody picks up my army, they're like, why do you have so many paperweights? So I get where Kyle's coming from in the sense of, like, if you're not going to have it in stock, what are you doing to fix that problem? I also understand where people are coming from being priced out of the game. Like, that's still a real big thing. Like, yeah, you can walk into your local store and you can buy a Saturnine box and you've got an army out of the box with that. But man, like, like Kyle's saying, you pick Blood Angels. Cool. Can you get Dawnbreakers? Nah, I got to order those. Can you get Angel's Tears? Nah, I got to order those. Are you playing Salamanders? Cool. Did you want Fire Drakes? I hope they're available.
So,
And in that eventuality, what I will say is You cannot say, as a community, we cannot say you're not allowed to proxy, you're not allowed to do 3D printing, you're not allowed to do this without providing some way for new players to play their game and enjoy it. You know, like I was saying, like these things are out of stock. So I should be able to say, like, hey, I've got these 5 Cataphracti. I'm playing them as Grave Wardens because the models aren't available yet. We as a community should be sympathetic to that and allow it. Or we have to be okay with proxies. Or we have to be okay with the recast. We have to be okay with 3D printing. There has to be some in between, some healthy in between, where you can support your local game store and still play the game while jumping through the hurdles of stock problems and model availability.
So, also, what I have to say on that, because we're also talking about, I mean, we said it once before. The game's too pricey. People coming in, new people can't buy a whole 3,000 point army. I think kind of that's up to GW and tournament organizers at certain places. Start have a 500 point tournament, have a 1,000 point tournament, because a lot of people are trying to get into this game, and I'm pretty sure Kyle was the same way when he thought about it. Because let's think your first event was Lakehammer, and you're like having to build a 3,000 point army. This goes back to our last podcast. Maybe it feels overbearing because everyone's trying to make all these high points. We've been playing Halo, we've been playing Flashpoint. We had 3 models on the field. It felt amazing playing a 30-point game, just going at it, or a 30-minute game. Maybe people need to start doing that and only having like a 500 point list tournament, 1,000 point tournament minimum, 750 point tournament minimum. So you could buy 1 box of whatever you want. Don't put a lot of rules on it. Just say fuck it. If the guy just wants to run 1 unit of fucking 5-man Terminators, go for it. Learn the rules. I don't know. Is that just me, or is that a...
Well, I don't think you're wrong. I think the healthiest way to grow someone into this game has always been escalation format. Start at like even like 500 or 750 points and start working your way up progressively across a certain amount of time. Because here's the other thing too, and this is one of those, like, everybody who listens to this podcast, I don't care where they are, who they are, has a pile of shame. Piles of shame are the models that you have and haven't painted or assembled. Everyone has a pile of shame.
Why'd you bring that up as I've like randomly walked to my fucking back here? Right. I'm just like, look at all these unpainted models.
Right. I'll say it. I don't have a pile of shame. I've painted everything that I got. I don't have anything.
So, unless you're Kyle, you have a pile of shame, right? Let me tell you the reason piles of shame exist and why escalation is a fantastic format and why it's a good pace. Piles of shame exist because it's really easy for me to go buy a box of 5 or 10 guys, assemble and paint those 10 guys and be like, yeah, mission accomplished. But then if I look at my top shelf and be like, that is 800 miniatures in boxes and I don't know where to start. The same problem happens at 3,000 points. If you go and you buy a 3,000 point list off the rack right now and you take it home, it is going to feel like an impossible task. But if you start at 500 or 750 or 1,000 even, that's doable within a reasonable amount of time. There's not as much pressure. There's not as much craziness to it. I also feel like, and this can be a hot take, and I can hear people cussing me out already.
I'm already cussing you out, and you don't even know it.
I think we have to move away from new players using Legion specific units. If you're brand new to the game, you should not be like, yeah, here's my list with 10 Angels Tears and 30 Dawnbreakers. Horrible place to start.
Learn the rules first.
One, yeah, you're skipping the basics, bro. Like, you went from walking to trying to fly a jet. We skipped cars, bikes, buses. We skipped all of that. Went straight to trying to fly an F-16, right?
Yeah, because Legion-specific units, like, and people are going to be like, oh, you're wrong. You know what? If you start with that and don't know how to play the game, they're shitty because you don't know how to pilot them. And everything has a weakness.
That's the first thing that I would say is if you're going to get a group together to like grow from small and go to large, I feel like Legion specific units are not the starting point.
Yep.
It's also not good for new players because, you know, if like Kyle, right? So the way I got Kyle into this game is I won a box set and I was like, here, Kyle, you play Horus Heresy now. That's literally the conversation we had.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, here, you play this game now because I don't need a fourth one of these boxes. So had I gone to Kyle instead and been like, hey man, you should play Death Guard, you know, this box is great. It comes with all this stuff. And then Kyle's like, oh yeah, man. Well, I was looking and I really would like some Grave Wardens, which Kyle did end up getting Grave Wardens, right? He's like, yeah, cool, man. If it's your first time playing the game and somebody's like, oh, by the way, those Grave Wardens are going to cost you $200. They're out of stock. Put yourself on the wait list, and when they're available, you can order them. And by the way, when you get them, they won't be that cool, easy plastic you've been messing with. They're going to be resin, so you're going to need to get new glue. And you're going to have to learn how to work with resin, because working with resin is not as forgiving as plastic. Right? So I feel like if you're starting an Escalation League or you're trying to get new people in, stop pointing people toward Legion-specific units. The basics are a necessity to learning the game. And this is why we end up in these situations where somebody's like, what does Armor Bane do again?
Mhm.
What is this rule again? Hey, these what do you mean my tactical squad can't do volley shots? Oh, I'm sorry, were you used a pyroclast that did everything? Were you used to all these crazy special rules that you don't have on basic align units? My fault. So that's where I would love to see more of that happening at lower point values, so we get away from this necessity to have all the crazy so early. Because once you appreciate the game and you understand the rules, then when you get your hands on the crazy, you know how to use it. You know, I'm kind of envious of players that have never played that are hopping into 3.0 right now. Because one of the things I keep seeing online is the guys are like, man, the list building for 3.0 is stupid. I am one of those people. I think the list building for 3.0 is stupid. Right? But the only reason the list building for me is stupid is because I've had 10 plus years of the same force organization chart. For a new player, it's not a problem. So, yeah, I think we got to go back into starting with basic units, building up escalation wise, so there's not so much painting pressure. There's not so much like, oh, I have to get so much painted and all this stuff. You know, we see that in some of the hangouts where guys are like, yeah, I'm just trying to grind through the rest of these 3,000 points. And then they're like, oh, I had to take a break. That doesn't happen when you're painting 10 guys at a time, 15 guys at a time. You know, you're not crushed with that like weird weight, because it's a weird way. It's not bad. Like no one's ever walked in your house and been like, "Oh, you haven't painted your models yet? Well, you got 30 days before we come back." That's not a typical feeling, right? Like there's not a mob boss that would just like, "You're not here. You got to pay the vig." That's not happening, right?
It'd
It's
be a
just it's a
shame
weird.
if something happened to these models because they weren't painted.
Yeah, but instead it's like a weird. It's just
I feel
it's
like
a
that every
weird
time I go
pressure.
to Lake Hammer. What are y'all talking about? Is that gray I see on that model?
Yes,
There is
that's
a
my
difference.
that's my color. That's my Legion color. It's gray.
That's what
There is a difference. There is a difference
I get
between
it.
pressure to paint and putting a bounty on unpainted models. There is a difference there. So, all right, we beat that subject to death. What's the next question?
It's a two-part question. Are dreadnoughts still good? Is the first part.
Okay.
The second part is it feels like Saturnines are the only good ones now.
Why did I would like to hear that if you're listening, and you posted that question, can you? I would like to pick your brain on why you think Saturnine are the only good ones, because that's interesting. That is interesting. That because I don't know if they're the only good ones. I don't even know if they're essentially good. But Gabe, what is your take?
I think Saturnines are the worst ones.
That's what I'm saying, man. I mean, hold on. But I think here's where my mind goes to it, because I've seen some people's list, and these are people that have played 2.0, and they're still in the mindset of go, go, go. You can't score points. I'm not saying you built your list that way, but I'm seeing a lot of resemblance from 2.0 where it's still like Contemptor, Blast Cannon team, putting some tanky heavy shit that could probably blow stuff off the board, but like it has no way to score points. It has no shenanigans on scoring points. And I think people are forgetting that if someone comes at you and let's say you have all these dreadnoughts, you're not going to be able to kill a lot of that stuff. And they might status affect you with some crazy stuff that is not allowing you to come onto points. Yeah, you could shoot the shit out of them, but if they still got one guy on an objective, that's technically almost like 3-4 points, depending on how they build their lists. Tier 1.
Okay. Here's why I think Saturnine are the worst. The first is point cost. A bare bones, nothing fancy Saturnine Dreadnought is like 340 points. It's a good gunboat, but I feel like it's a gunboat that isn't better than a Daredeo at doing the same job. I think a Daredeo will chew you up. Right? The second problem, like when I say that Saturnines are the worst, that's objective, right? That's Gabe being Gabe. I do this like if I can't find the functionality for a model, I'll be like, it sucks. I don't have enough reps to rule it out entirely, but I do think it's the weakest of the dreadnoughts because it's the slowest. Dude, it can move 6 inches. 6 inches. Bro, only have 4 turns.
Right.
Like this thing is just driving Miss Daisy, but with plasma cannons. Right?
Is 6 inches a lot? Context, Gabe. Context.
No, this is real 6 inches. This is the shit you tell your wife when you golf. So the second problem is their weapons, right? So they can either take the plasma bombards or the disintegrator cannons. Okay. Well, the disintegrator cannons, there's a pretty good chance you're gonna kill yourself over time. Right? The plasma bombards, they're good because they have barrage. So they can ignore a line of fire. They got a 5-inch blast template. Like they're gonna do work, right? They're not bad. Would you rather not have rapiers? I would rather have rapiers with phosphex.
I mean, I guess it also depends on what you want to do, right?
Well, so and this is where it comes down to, right? It's like you look at it, yeah, dude, it's imposing. Strength 8, toughness 8, 8 wounds. You know, it's got a ton of stat buff. It's still only ballistic skill 4. It's still, you know, hitting the normal shots, right? So when I'm thinking about a gunboat, I'm like, okay, well, in that same vein, I can take a Daredeo for 190 points. Give it a Hellfire Cannonade. I think they're 15 points, and I get more guns with more effectiveness with the same ballistic skill. I just don't have barrage, right? I lose 1 toughness. Fair. Well, let's talk about the math behind that. What is the wound probability change between toughness 7 and toughness 8?
I mean, if a gun is shooting at both of those profiles, it's probably always going to be a little bit higher. So it's,
you know, like if you're shooting me with a las cannon, it's a difference of wounding on 3s versus 2s. Okay, cool. But if you're shooting with pretty much anything else, it's either going to wound the same or it's going to not wound the same. Right? So the difference in toughness in that factor is like either way, I'm absorbing las cannons or I'm not.
Yeah.
The main difference is I feel like the Daredeo has more punch for the money and it's cheaper. Even kitted with the plasmas, it's 205 points. I'm still saving about 135 points.
How many more shots is it?
Well, so the Saturnine Dreadnought, can take twin plasmas, which are barrage 5-inch blast templates, or it can fire the disintegrator cannon, which is 2 shots per arm. So minimum 2, maximum 4 if you're running twin disintegrators, or you can drop 2 5-inch templates. Right? If I'm shooting a Deradeo with plasma and its normal stuff, the plasma can fire 1 5-inch template that breaches on 4+ with overload. The same as the other guy, but that's again the Saturnines. Their maximal profile breaches on 5s, not 4s. So I'm still getting more threat on the Deradeo. I also still have my Iolos missiles, which are like Strength 6, AP4. I think they're a 3-inch blast template with barrage, so I can fire them out of line of sight. And if I stand still, I get to shoot it twice. Right? It's firepower 2. The Hellfire Plasma Cannonade, if you stand still, has extra strength. So I'm getting more strength out of that weapon. These Saturnine Dreadnoughts, their weapons don't have heavy anything. So you're getting the same profile whether you walk or you stand still. And then the Deradeo also has a twin heavy bolter. Flex-wise, I'm going to save the 135 points. I'm going to take a Deradeo, and in my opinion, get more lethality.
Yeah,
right? So then you
get to flex other ways, pivot when you need to.
Right. So now let's look at the other part of that, right? Leviathan Dreadnoughts. Now, Leviathan Dreadnoughts are also slow and clunky because they're only movement 6. Fair. Okay. A Leviathan Dreadnought will tear a Saturnine Dreadnought apart. Leviathan Dreadnoughts will tear pretty much anything apart.
Got to get there.
They just have to get there. Now, big difference. I can put a Leviathan in a drop pod and get there.
Yep. That's what I was like. It all depends on like what you could drop, because deep striking's going to be a thing. It's going to be a thing this edition.
100%, right? So I can get him there. Now, then you're getting into the semantics of, okay, well, now you're at the same cost as a Saturnine, but it's a Leviathan that's right in your backyard. And important distinction, I don't have to charge what I shoot anymore.
Exactly. And also the charge is different.
Yeah, so that Leviathan can murder some things right off the bat, right? I think what's going to be a concern is you can't charge out of deep strike anymore. Even if he can charge out of the Leviathan, even though he can charge out of the Dreadnought drop pod, even if he could, it's considered a disordered charge, which is crippling. But a Leviathan Dreadnought is the same toughness as a Saturnine, still T8 with 7 wounds. Dude, that's still a murderous thing to have to fight. It has a Phosphex discharger, so I'm going to kill a couple of units while I'm playing around in the backfield. So I don't think Dreadnoughts are bad at all. I think Dreadnoughts are still good. I think the problem is going to be the way players view them. You're still thinking of the 2.0 Dreadnoughts. 3.0 Dreadnoughts are not the same as 2. They're not near as oppressive as they used to be. Their stats aren't as strong. So with the weapon skill and ballistic skill reduction, they're not pretty much like auto hits with twin las or, in combat weapon skill 5. So you're taking on elite units with ease. Those days are gone, as they needed to be.
And also, I don't think, and y'all could comment on this, Gabe, because I know y'all probably have a way for this. I don't think anyone should hold their punches back anymore right now. This is a new edition. We're going to regulate ourselves when we find stuff is overpowered and stuff like that. But we need to give this game like 6 months. We need to figure out what is actually like the new las cannon / contemptors of this edition. We haven't found that yet, and I think that's what people are going to. They're like, "Oh, I don't want to be that guy that brings dreadnoughts." I don't think dreadnoughts are that. They're good. They're really good, but I don't think that's the end all be all. Like you could only take 2 now, or they're extremely like overpowering. I
think overpower is going to come from. I think overpower is not going to come from the units. I think it's going to come from the utility.
Yep.
You and I had a very long conversation about the impacts of Vanguard and how we both think it's bad. Like the threat doesn't come from the models anymore. The threat will come from the utility. It's going to be how you use them and when you use them. That's just me thinking it.
Yeah.
Dreadnoughts are still. I still think dreadnoughts are good. What are you gonna say, Kyle?
I was like, you can't eat soup with a fork.
Yeah, soup and fork conversation, right? So I still think dreadnoughts are good. I do not think the Saturnines are the only good ones.
True. Your list building is going to determine what models are good and what models are bad this edition. Because I'm going to say this with my list building that I'm throwing out there. If I'm comparing something to a dreadnought, and this is going to sound confusing to some people, I think the way that I built my list, rhinos are the most OP thing in my list. Take that as you will. I'm not throwing out the details yet. Maybe in another podcast, but I think rhinos are the most OP thing in my list.
Well,
And
I
I think
remember
I do have dreadnoughts too. But
when we first started looking at the list building, I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, how many rhinos do I own? And how hard will this be? Because there is a world that exists where it's legal for me to bring like 30 rhinos. That might be an exaggeration, but
it was a
with the
fuckload.
way
It
that
was a lot. It was a lot.
it's an obnoxious amount of rhinos because you're not required to take them with a unit anymore. You can just take them as a transport. So yeah, I agree with you there. I think rhinos with multi-meltas just yeeting themselves across the field, you're going to have a bad time. um, but the other thing that's kind of funny is when you do the comparison of like are dreadnoughts good? I think they're still good. I don't think they're 2.0 good. You got to bring down those expectations. Like it's like running into that girl you had a crush on at the family reunion. She's not as hot as she used to be. Take it for what it is now and appreciate it. Like dreadnoughts are not what they're going to be in 2.0 and to 3.0. They're not going to be the same. You're going to see a lot more threat and a lot scarier behavior from units, in my opinion. And a lot of those units are going to be the underdogs from 2.0. Like, dude, destroyer squads are going to be a problem.
This is going to also be a shock to you whenever you play not your first game, but you play your couple of games. And you go and you bring like these dreadnoughts, you bring all this firepower and stuff, and you table the other opponent, and they still win.
Yep.
That's when it's gonna click in your head. You're like, "Fuck! I killed the shit out of this guy, and he still won." And you even probably table them by turn 3, and they still win. That's all I'm gonna like put out there to think about.
Yep, I agree. Kyle, what's our last question?
Our last question is, and this is kind of like a lighter note. What is the silliest gaming superstition you've ever seen?
Where do we start?
The silliest gaming superstition.
This is another funny thing. I had one person tell me, because my custodians weren't painted the right way, that my dice rolls aren't going to be good.
They weren't wrong.
Are you serious? Are you serious? I was record some of our matches where somehow I roll fucking like 4-6 up to save one guy on one wound, and you're just like, that checks out.
I agree with that I agree with the superstition. Like your dice got to match your army. I agree with that.
No. Not dice matching army. Not dice matching army, because I like that. My dice match my army. Oh hell yeah! My dice have the Texas theme.
But somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, your custodians aren't gold." Yeah, they're not box art. Yeah,
they're not box art. So my dice rolls are gonna be bad.
Silliest superstition.
I've got one, and Gabe's gonna hate me for this, especially when playing new games like Helldivers. Always reloading after a fight.
Oh, dude, I do that all the time.
I know. That's bad news in games like Helldivers because that wastes the rest of your mag. It's not like it used to be.
That's the old Call of Duty brain right there.
Yeah, it is.
Dude,
that's that old search and destroy.
Bro, that was a Halo mindset. Actually, it was like, oh, I fired 2 rounds. Better make sure we top that up.
Yeah, firing 1 round at the beginning of every game because you have to clear the chamber.
All right, so here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to start with the superstitions I believe in, And then I will sell you the silliest I've ever come across. The first one I believe in, if your models are not painted, if your models aren't painted, they won't perform. Period. It doesn't matter if they're painted badly, but if they're not painted, they're gonna die. They're gonna do poorly, right? I believe in that. Second superstition I believe in is your dice got to match your army. I believe in that. Kyle is evidence of it. Irrefutable.
And yet you still win with your Lake Hammer dice. Oh, right, that's right, because they're blue and black, like Ultramarines. Dick.
Blue and gold.
They're blue and black with gold pips. You're both right and you're both wrong. I appreciate you for it. And that's the beauty of owning a brand. So, the third superstition I fully believe in is that you have to punish bad dice.
Fuck no, dude. Hell no.
Gotta get on the cut chair.
No, dude. No. There's no such thing as bad dice. It's just bad vibes from you, bro.
I've had dice where I pick it up, I roll it, I'm like, all right, cool, it failed, I'm gonna re-roll that. All right, it failed again. I set that dice to the side, I let it watch its other dice roll for a while, now I put it back in the mix, it's fine.
I can't.
Now the silliest ones. There's just so many dumb ones, man.
I think there's a funny one that we do, and I don't believe in it, but goddamn, does it make the game fun? Is I have a friend Zach, who I play 40K with, and we can't have a game where every battle round he believes you have to chug a Truly to make the game the spirits and make all the game and make everything good about the game, and nothing like fucked up will happen. I'm like, okay, whatever, let's drink to that.
See, when you guys did that at Lake Hammer, I was like, look at these children. Look at these absolute children. And then you were like, have one with us, Gabe. And I'm like, I will if you take a shot with me. And you were like, I'm about it. And that's why Christian and I are friends. Because he was willing to drink like a man and willing to drink like whatever that Truly thing was. Like, I don't discriminate. It's just not my jam, right? I did a couple with you guys because, like, you know, you're part of the people, y'all are family and whatnot. But, like, I've never pounded a Truly afterwards and been like, oh, that makes me want to conquer a village. Said no one ever. So silly. Okay, here's a silly one I ran across that was like, I was like, man, if this works, cool, but it feels like a lot. I knew a guy that every time one of his tanks got exploded, he had to lick it.
What?
He would lick the bottom of his tank and then put it in the box. And I'm like, that was weird. I said it out loud. I was like, it just came out of nowhere. He like, I see him pick up the tank. He goes, oh, what a shame, picked it up. He licked it. And I was like, that was weird. I said it just like that. And he's like, do what? And I was like, never mind, dude. Let's roll up. And he was just like, no, it's a thing I do. And I'm like, I don't shame. Do you, dog?
At that point, I would.
Shame.
That was a weird one.
I remember you telling me about the guy that used to lick his magic card before he played it.
No. That was different. That dude did that for shock value. So, a really cool dude that I used to play with when I was a kid, because I started gaming when I was a child, man. He used to freak people out because he had, you know, a few Black Lotuses, which anyone who plays Magic understands that Black Lotuses come with their own kind of, you know, like mythological being with them, right? So he had two of them that were like graded above 9s. Fantastic. And then he had one that was kind of beat to shit. And so every time he played it, he'd lick it. And watching the combination of rage, fury, confusion, and overall concern when somebody licks a $2,000 card and then puts it on the table, hilarious. That was funny. Another silly one I came across. What's another? There's just so many stupid ones.
My favorite is Chops. Chops is because he's an orc player. He always tells Gran and whatever to believe in his dice, like orcs believe in you or some shit like that. Like he makes some orky references, and everything I just said, he doesn't say it normally. He says it like an orc will, and it's just funny because when he believes in his dice, they actually work out for him. But if you tell someone else to do it, it's to believe like an orc, it doesn't happen. It's fucking hilarious.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna get some hate for it, but if you're one of those orc players that yells "wah" when you wah, I don't like you.
Yeah, I agree.
No.
Mainly that's for Justin, because when we were playing Alamo 2 years ago, we were in the same hall as the 40k players, and this dude would just wah. Like it felt like every 10 minutes he was yelling wah, and I saw Justin jump out of his skin every single time. Another
That's a
silly one.
tournament organizer thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I get it. Get into your army. I'm not knocking you for getting into your army. I'm just like, man, after a while, you're like, especially if there's more than one orc player. Ugh. It's like listening to kids fight over a playground. Um, Another silly superstition I came across, which is one of the ones that like, it wasn't so much like dumb or whatever else. I didn't understand it. Was there was a guy that would like when he took shots at the event table, he put a shot glass in front of his bag of dice. And I was like, you got somebody else showing up? Because no, it's for my dice. And I was like, okay.
One for me, one for my homies.
Yeah, just gonna hang on to that one. I do remember dealing with a guy who his models had to be facing the right way every time they did something. So like if he was going to shoot something, he would physically pivot the models, and I'm like, why are you messing with the game? Because I'm not moving them. They have to face what they're shooting. And I was like, okay.
I mean, if they're not
Neat.
looking the right way, they're gonna miss.
Yeah,
That
let me put
exactly
my Ares. Let me point my Ares gunship at you real quick. Let me free pivot.
Yeah. But yeah, the guy who licked his tanks was up there. That one was pretty strange. I can't think of anything beyond that was like super like outside the norm. Like there's tons of us that are superstitious about our dice. There's like I'll be 100% honest. That's one of the Adepticon rules that when I read it, I was like, I wish you would. Is there like, hey, you must make your dice available for your opponent? And I'm like, you better keep your greasy dick beaters off my dice.
I don't mind people touching my dice if they have good vibes, because of the superstition of people have with their dice and shit like that, or like, oh, they're bad dice or whatever. I think it's bad vibes. I got that, and this isn't even from 40k or 30k. It's not from Warhammer at all. This is from being young, playing in a pool league in Las Vegas, and my grandma would always take me and my grandpa, and we played in a pool league. And when I got of age of gambling, my grandma's favorite game was rolling dice on the crap table. And she would, if the vibes were good, she would go and roll. When the vibes got bad, she didn't like other people touching the dice. She didn't like rolling. She would step off of the table. So I believe vibes have a big thing to do with the dice. It's not the dice exactly. It's the people's vibes around the dice. If everyone's having a good time and everyone's winning money together, it's nice. So as long as you have good vibes or having a good game, you can roll my dice. Yeah, I've rolled 20 of them. 20 of them hit, 20 of them wounded somehow. Yeah, you can pick up my dice if you have good vibes about it. If you don't, no, grab your own dice.
Yeah, I
Don't
get
put.
that. I get that way with Lance, like, because you guys know me with my Volkites. So I'm like, all right, man, it'll be 38 wounds, and Lance would be like, can I just roll these dice? I'm like, yes, Lance. Because like it's really stupid for me. Like, no, get 38 dice out of your bag. I'm not going to be that guy, but again, like if you're weird, I don't want you touching my dice. I don't want you rubbing your whatever
Yeah,
you are on my dice.
and Lance is never like hateful or spiteful or anything about it. He's like, hell yeah, dude, that's actually a lot of hits and a lot of wounds. Can I
Yeah,
roll your dice?
yeah,
Because
you're not wrong.
I've have Chops is really good at it, because Chops he rolls all of it. We're always happy about it. But and this isn't a shot at Grant, because I love Grant. I love playing against Grant. But whenever I'm playing a high volume army and I'm just rolling all of them, he's like, "Fuck, can I roll your dice?" I'm like, "Yeah." And somehow, and this is just random numbers, but let's say I convert 20, and he picks up my dice thinking he's going to convert 20, and he only converts 3. Oh, I have never seen anyone get so angry before. Like, why do they roll for you, not that? I'm like, it's the bad vibes, dude. It's not the dice. But
It's that
because
feel. It's
that
that
tilts
feeling you
people.
have.
Yeah, it's because that also really tilts people when they go to roll your dice too, because it's rolling hot, and they go and roll them, and it rolls like absolute dog fucking ass. Like it's so bad. Yeah, and that's also another reason I don't let people roll my dice, because there's that other side of it. When your dice are rolling hot, someone else goes to roll it and they roll bad. It's extra tilting.
To a degree, yeah. I don't disagree. Like, I would be really upset if like your dice are rolling super hot, and I'm like, I'm gonna roll this dice, and I roll like 5 ones. I'll just look at you. Like nothing, dude. Nothing brings out my Forrest Whitaker eye more.
Hey man, that's a good way to test if they have loaded dice or not.
That's the origin of the rule, right? Is if someone thinks you have loaded dice, they don't call a judge. They're just like, let me roll your dice, and you can't tell them no.
There's
That's
a
the
difference
origin.
between loaded dice and well, I guess that is considered loaded. I'm thinking weighted, but like I'm like pretty sure you could tell from the 40K scandal when all of them have 6s on it. And there's nothing else.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
You just got to look at it.
Oh man.
Well, that's all the questions we have. Do y'all have anything else?
Yeah, Warzone.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure who all we're gonna see there.
What's Warzone, Gabe?
I'll stab you. I'll do it with something blunt.
I mean, I can always put in our commercial at the end of this video.
That terribly made hilarious commercial. Yeah, geared up for Warzone. I'm hoping to run into some people at the APOT game. I think I always look forward to Warzone, and from what it looks like, there's going to be some pretty baller attendance.
I think we're getting a lot of prime marks at Warzone, which is amazing for a send off.
Apparently, we're getting a buttload of custodians.
There ain't nothing wrong about that.
From what count I saw, there's going to be at least 4 of them.
That's about 4 too many.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. It's fine.
Thank Henry Cavill for that shit.
I see 2. I think I saw 2 or 3,000 Suns players. That's too many.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Not only are your models going to get psychic headaches, you're going to get a psychic headache, Kyle. That's. But Warzone sounds fun. I think we're going to see a lot of stuff that we haven't seen. Because it's the last send off where everyone's just diving into their bag of tricks. Everyone's bringing their prime. Most people that I've saw, I'm gonna say a lot more people are bringing Primarchs as their last send off than you usually see. So I think this is going to be one of those magical tournaments for 2.0 send off where we're just going to see some crazy stuff that maybe we haven't even thought of, like in the past, which is cool.
I'm hoping that's the case of Warzone. Like, and I'm gonna be the sticky person. It's not a tournament. It's an event. Heresy doesn't have tournaments. They have narrative events. Unless you're at like the GW Open, then that's actually a tournament. But
I say tournament, and I don't mean that for the Heresy, because there's not just going to be Heresy there. There's 40K there, Kill Team, whatever.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
But we're talking about the Heresy side of it, so I agree. It's an event.
I'm thinking it's going to be cool to see a bunch of the stuff like where guys are like, yeah, this is the last 2.0 that we're going to see. So I agree with you. Like, we're going to see a lot of crazy stuff we haven't seen before where guys were like, I don't want to be that guy. To where they're like, no, I'm going to be the problem. And I'm okay with that. Bring the rain.
Yeah, bring it.
I'm cool. I'm cool with it. Bring the rain, dude. Send it out however you want to send it out. Yeah, I know I'm taking a Primarch.
I'm not.
Gabe never takes a Primarch. It's going to be a completely different set of stuff.
As long as you remember how to play him.
Hey, I do okay. Rude.
Yeah.
I could bring my Death Guard. I could switch it up and bring Morty. Nah.
No, I think Seth needs you to be a loyalist.
Yeah, I was like, I could do it. Seth needs me to be a loyalist. I'm gonna be the weirdo loyalist Thousand Sons.
It's all right. He told Lance. He's like, yeah, it's okay. Lance has been voluntold to play loyalists.
Voluntold. I feel like Lance is always voluntold.
Why do you think I always buy him a beer?
That's funny.
So, all right, cool. Then we'll call it a wrap up for today. Again, thanks for listening, guys, for joining us. As always, fuck Erebus, happy dice, happy life. We'll catch you on the next one.
See you folks at Warzone.